All right. I don't really have a plan for this one. I didn't sit down with an outline or bullet points. I've just been thinking about this for a couple of days now, and it won't leave me alone. So I figured I'd just talk it out. Let it circle back, let it be messy. Thanks for tuning into There Is Nothing You Can Say podcast. Today we are diving into the bizarre and terrifying story of David, or D4vd. Even in the name, you see it. Not just David, but stylized, flipped into something else. And that four, that's not random. It ties into dimensions. 4 dimensions, 4 layers of reality, and for algorithm traction. He said he's building something bigger, a storyline that he can't reveal all at once, like breadcrumbs he's leaving for us to piece together later. That tells me he's intentional. He's not just dropping songs, he's constructing a mythology. And then you look at what's out there about him. This isn't just TikTok whispers. TMZ, mainstream outlets, they've picked it up too. Headlines saying he killed a girl, that there's a dead body. And when it's in places like that, part of me thinks, well, there must be truth, right? Reputable outlets don't invent crimes. But then the other part of me goes, wait, the media feeds on darkness. They'll spin tragedy because they know it sells. Love doesn't trend, family doesn't trend, murder does. So maybe those headlines aren't proof of guilt. Maybe they're proof of how much we want to consume the worst. And then there's his strategy. Because he's not naive, he knows how the internet works. He got good at making videos go viral. He studied what performs, and he noticed murder content does numbers. It sticks. And then along comes Romantic Homicide, and it blows up. And you can see the realization in him. I'm onto something here. Darkness sells. And it's tied to his upbringing. He grew up listening to classical music. That's all his mom would allow. And he said before, what his mom doesn't like often ends up being what's cool. So when he leaned into something she wouldn't approve of, violent imagery, darker themes, and it skyrocketed, that must have clicked in his head. Almost like rebelling against her taste was the way to connect with the world. And that makes me wonder, could his songs be confessions? Could they be him telling on himself? Because if you take the lyrics literally, in the back of my mind, you died, that sounds like confession dressed as art. And if that's the case, then we're not just talking about a talented kid chasing views. We're talking about someone calculated enough to use music as cover, a kind of master evil person hiding in plain sight. And yet, when I see him in interviews, he doesn't match that image. He's calm, measured, thoughtful. To be clear, David is now 20 years old, but was 17 when he started becoming famous because of his music. And he talks about his audience in a way that doesn't sound fake. He says he sees people crying at his shows, and he tries to sing directly to them because he knows they worked for that ticket, that they spent their hard-earned money to be there. And that doesn't sound like someone who only sees numbers. That sounds like someone who values connection. And then there's love. That's the thing about him that I keep circling back to. Because he doesn't talk about love like most young artists do. He doesn't make it about drama or about fleeting moments or about ego. He talks about love like it's the foundation of life itself, the anchor, the reason you even get up in the morning. And that's striking because he's still so young, but he speaks about it with the weight of someone who's lived a lot more years. He talks about love like it's not just an emotion, but an energy that keeps the whole thing going. Like without it, there's no music, no art, no meaning. And I think, where did he learn that? How does he know that already? For me, it took motherhood to start seeing love in that way. And even then, it's complicated because some days love feels heavy. It feels like work. You're pouring out constantly your body, your time, your energy, your sleep, and you don't always feel like you're getting anything back. It can feel transactional, like a one-way current. And then I hear him call love the anchor, the reason. And I think maybe that's the shift I need. Maybe love isn't about what you get in return. Maybe it's about what you keep showing up for, even when it's exhausting. Maybe it's about recognizing that love is bigger than convenience, bigger than reciprocity. It's what makes life bearable. It's what gives art its soul. And I wonder if that's why his songs cut the way they do. Because when you listen, it doesn't sound like he's writing about some shallow high school crush. It sounds like he's tapping into something universal, something that makes people cry in the audience, something that reaches across miles and makes a song like Sleep Well feel like it was written for me in that moment. So when he says love is everything, I believe him because you can feel it. It's not packaged, it's not performance, it's conviction. And whether that's his truth or a character he's channeling, the effect is the same. It makes you stop and rethink what love really is. And then family. He doesn't gush about his mom constantly, but she's the one who told him to start writing in the first place. She suggested music. That's the seed of all this. And then his sister, he brings her on stage. That's not small. That's saying she's part of this. That's loyalty. That's love. But then I stop myself. Or maybe it's also image building. Maybe family is another part of the story he's crafting for us. And again, I swing between no, that's genuine. Yes, maybe it's calculated. And then there's the whole psychopath loop. People throw that word out fast. Calm, articulate, dark lyrics, must be a psychopath. But when I watch him, I don't see coldness. He notices his audience, he centers love, he keeps family around him. That doesn't add up to psychopathy. But then I second guess myself. Isn't that exactly the trick? The best masks are the ones you believe. Psychopaths can be charming, persuasive, disarming. They'll tell you exactly what you want to hear while hiding something else. So sometimes I think, maybe yes, maybe he could be. And then I circle back. No, he isn't. Yes, maybe he is, back and forth. And I realize that loop says as much about me as it does about him, because I'm always balancing feeling against logic, suspicion against trust. And then there's how he writes, through characters. He admits it. He takes on roles to create. And that fascinates me, but it also unsettles me. Because on one hand, that's artistry. On the other, maybe it means he doesn't actually feel these emotions himself. Maybe he only understands them through borrowed perspectives. And if you can only connect through characters, maybe that explains the distance people sense in him. And then the imagery, the strings in his videos. He shows characters tied together, pulled by threads you can't see, and that makes me think of string theory. The idea that reality isn't just what we see, that unseen forces bind us, that everything is connected across dimensions. And maybe that's why he chose the four dimensions, 4 layers. He's showing us pieces now, but he wants us to look back later and realize it was all connected. And then the music. Romantic Homicide. He sings, "In the back of my mind, you died. I killed you in my mind." He said it's figurative. But still, I wonder, is it heartbreak translated into violence, or is it confession wrapped in art? Then, Here With Me, inspired by Up. He sings, "I don't care how long it takes, as long as I'm with you, I've got a smile on my face." That's tenderness. That's longing. That's not emptiness. And then Sleep Well. That's the one that hit me hardest because my partner and I are apart right now, and last night I was crying, feeling the distance. And I put it on, and it felt like a blanket. Like he was saying, "I hope you sleep well tonight, even if I'm not by your side." And in that moment, it didn't feel like performance. It felt real. And maybe that's the danger, because I want to believe that's who he is. The David whose mom nudged him into music, who brings his sister on stage, who sees fans crying and sings to them, who dreams of escaping to an island after 4 years of chaos. But maybe that's projection. Maybe I'm just choosing the version of him that mirrors me. Because he's also said he wants to retire in 4 years. Live on a remote island. And that throws me. Like, he's building all this mythology, all this intensity, and then he wants to disappear. Maybe that's the plan. Milk the attention, make the money, and then vanish. And that's both brilliant and unnerving. And then I think about myself, about times I've been misread, when people spun one thing I said into a whole story that wasn't true. And once people believe that version, it's almost impossible to undo. Maybe that's what's happening to him, or maybe he's orchestrating all of it. So, yeah, I don't have an answer. I don't know if the headlines are truth or performance. I don't know if Celeste was real or just another character. I don't know if D4vd is the mask or the man. But I know what I feel when I listen. And what I feel isn't emptiness. It isn't fear. It's presence. It's love. And maybe that's naive. Maybe I'm wrong. But maybe the point isn't whether I'm right or wrong. Maybe the point is that our reactions, mine, yours, say more about us than about him, about how we choose to see people, about whether we assume the worst or hold on to the best. And maybe that's the bigger story, that this isn't really about David at all. It's about belief, about masks, about motives and money, about strings and dimensions, about the confessions we think we hear in music, and maybe in the end it's about us, about who we are when we choose what to believe.